Imagine this. In English, you are funny, you are quick, you can tell stories, make jokes, be sarcastic, be deep. But in Spanish, you suddenly feel like a shy 8-year-old. You can't find the words. You sound simpler, quieter, smaller. And then your brain whispers, "This isn't really me. I don't like how I am in Spanish." If that feels uncomfortably familiar, this episode is for you. Because today we are not talking about verbs or vocabulary, we are talking about identity. About that weird double life feeling. What version of you in English, another version in Spanish. And I want to show you how to slowly close that gap so your Spanish self feels more like you. If this topic already hits something inside you, go ahead and like this video so more anxious Spanish learners can find it. And if you are new here, subscribe to Spanish Confidence Lab so you don't miss the next episode. Hi, and welcome back to Spanish Confidence Lab, the space where we talk about the emotional side of learning Spanish. What freezes your voice, what shrinks your personality, and how to gently bring your real self into your Spanish. I'm Raquel, and today we are talking about your Spanish double life, or why you feel like a different person in Spanish, and how to close the gap. In the last episodes, we've talked about fear of judgment, imposter syndrome, and overthinking when you want to speak. Today, we go one step deeper. We are going to talk about who you are in Spanish. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why your personality feels smaller in Spanish, how your brain is secretly trying to protect your identity. 3 practical tools to build an authentic Spanish self. And at the very end, I'll give you a small concrete challenge you can do this week to start closing that gap. So stay with me until the end, especially if you've ever thought, "I don't want to speak Spanish because I hate how I sound." Let me tell you a story. Imagine you are at a party with bilingual friends. In English, you are relaxed. You are telling a story about your last trip, everyone is laughing, someone says, "You are so funny," so you feel seen. This is you. Then the group switches to Spanish. Suddenly your brain goes, "Wait, don't say that, you don't know that verb. That joke won't work. What if they think you are stupid?" So you start speaking less. You only say simple sentences. Sí, me gusta. Sí, es bonito. People are still kind, but you feel invisible. On the way home, you think, "They have no idea who I really am." In Spanish, I feel boring. I feel less. If you've lived a version of this story, I want you to know you are not the only one. Every week, I talk to students who say things like, "My Spanish personality is not me." Or, "In English, I am confident, but in Spanish, I feel like a child. I don't like who I become when I speak Spanish." And this isn't just about language. It's about identity, safety, and self-image. So let's slow this down. What's going on here? When you speak your native language, you have years and years of proof that people understand you. La gente te entiende. People laugh at your jokes. La gente se ríe de tus bromas. You can explain complex ideas. Puedes expresar ideas complejas. You can defend yourself, set boundaries, be sarcastic, or be deep. Puedes defenderte, establecer límites, ser sarcástico o ser profundo. So your brain has a strong story. In my language, I am competent, I am safe, and I belong. Now, in Spanish, you are still building that story. Your vocabulary is smaller, your grammar is messier, and your reaction time is slower. Your brain sees that difference and panics a little. It thinks, this doesn't match my identity. I'm not the shy person, but in Spanish, I look shy. I'm not the stupid person, but my mistakes might look stupid. So, what does your brain do? It tries to protect your identity by blocking your voice. Because if you don't speak, you can't be seen in this weaker version. Your silence is not random, it's a protection strategy. It's your brain saying, if I can't be my full self, I'd rather not show up at all. And that's the conflict. One part of you wants to speak. Another part of you wants to protect your image. And understanding this is step one. So you are not lazy. You are not cut out for languages. You are just protecting something important. Your sense of self. Let's add another layer. Many students think they have to perform a character in Spanish. Maybe you think you have to be super outgoing, super sociable, super Latin, super Latino, super confident, super seguro, que necesitas hablar rápido, gesticular mucho, o nunca tener errores. So you try to wear this Spanish costume. But deep down, it doesn't feel like you. Maybe you are naturally more calm, more introverted, more reflective. If your Spanish persona is too far from your real personality, your brain will resist. It's like trying to act in a play without a script. You feel fake, awkward, and exhausted. Here's the truth I want you to hear today. You don't need a new personality in Spanish. You need a gentle version of your real personality in Spanish. Not Spanish you, just you, with fewer words but the same heart. Now let's get practical. How do you close the gap between your English self and your Spanish self? I want to give you 3 tools. Think of them as small adjustments, not huge transformations. Tool 1. Before working on Spanish, you need to be clear on who you are in your own language. Take a moment and write down 3 to 5 words that describe you in English. Maybe funny, curious, caring, sarcastic, deep, playful, nerdy, creative. Tal vez divertido, curioso, cuidadoso, sarcástico, profundo, juguetón, estudioso o creativo. Now, ask yourself, how could I express just 1% of each of these in Spanish with the language I already have? For example, if you are curious, you can practice asking more questions in Spanish. ¿Y tú qué piensas? ¿O por qué lo dices? ¿Cómo fue eso para ti? If you are caring, you can practice small emotional phrases. Me alegra por ti. Siento mucho escuchar eso. Cuenta conmigo. If you are sarcastic, you don't need complex sentences. You can start with simple reactions. ¡Qué buena suerte! as a reaction to something bad that has happened. ¡Qué buena idea! When someone suggests something you think is a bad idea, you are not trying to copy your full English self. You are just trying to let little fragments of your real personality enter your Spanish. After this episode, choose one trait and write down 2 simple sentences in Spanish that express it. Tool 2. Your Spanish self cannot grow in spaces where you constantly feel judged. If your only practice is speaking in front of natives in a big group, hablar enfrente de un gran grupo de nativos, or in stressful work situations, or with people who correct your mistakes in a way that you don't like, o con personas que corrigen tus errores de una manera que no te gusta, your brain will stay in protection mode. You need low-stakes spaces where your identity is allowed to be messy. This could be a conversation with another learner at a similar level, a patient tutor who understands about anxiety, un tutor paciente que entienda sobre ansiedad, a language exchange where you both agree that Spanish time is for practicing and not for judging your performance, un intercambio de lenguas en el que ambas personas estén de acuerdo en que el tiempo para practicar español es eso, práctica, y no van a juzgar su actuación. Even speaking alone, voice notes, recording on your phone, journaling out loud. Incluso hablar solo, hacer notas de voz, grabar en tu teléfono o hacer un diario en voz alta. The rule is, in this space, my goal is not to impress. My goal is to show up as me, even if my Spanish is imperfect. Let's also do this second mini task. Think about your current life and identify one space that could become low-stakes Spanish time. Who is safe? When are you less tired? Maybe it's a Sunday coffee with one friend or 10 minutes before bed with a notebook. Tool number 3. Many students repeat sentences like, I'm boring in Spanish. Soy aburrido en español. I'm not funny in Spanish. No soy divertido en español. I'm a completely different person and I don't like that person. Soy una persona completamente diferente y no me gusta esa persona. Every time you repeat that, you are writing it deeper into your identity. I'm not going to ask you to say, I'm amazing in Spanish, if you don't believe it. But we can update the story gradually. Try phrases like, right now, my Spanish is simpler, but my real personality is there. En este momento, mi español es simple, pero mi personalidad real está ahí. My Spanish self is still under construction. Mi yo español está en construcción. Even with basic words, a piece of the real me can show up. Incluso con palabras básicas, un pedazo de mi yo real puede mostrarse. Can you feel the difference? We are not lying. We are creating space for growth instead of closing the door with negative labels. Mini task 3. Choose one sentence you usually say about your Spanish identity. Now, write a more compassionate version of that sentence and put it somewhere you can see it this week. And now, let's finish this episode with a small challenge for this week. I want you to create a 1-minute Spanish self-check-in. First, choose one trait from your real self. For example, curious, caring, funny. Second, open the voice recorder on your phone. Third, record 1 minute in Spanish where you say how you feel today and try to express that trait even in a very, very simple way. For example, si eres curioso, hoy estoy cansado, pero tengo curiosidad por aprender más sobre este tema. Me encantaría saber más de esto. Si te gusta cuidar de otros, hoy me siento nervioso, pero quiero apoyar a mi amigo, entonces para mí es importante decirle que cuenta conmigo. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need to show this to anyone. The goal is not to sound native. The goal is to let one little piece of your real self exists in Spanish. If you do this once a week, your brain slowly learns. Okay, maybe it's safe to be myself in this language too. If you found this helpful, please give this video a like. It truly helps more anxious Spanish learners find this space. And if you want to keep exploring the emotional side of Spanish with me, subscribe to Spanish Confidence Lab and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Here's your reflection question. In your native language, what are 3 words that describe your personality? En tu lengua materna, ¿cuáles son las 3 palabras que describen tu personalidad? And which one do you feel the most blocked from expressing in Spanish? ¿Y cuál de ellas sientes más bloqueada cuando te expresas en español? Write your answer in English, in Spanish, or mixed. This space is for practice, not perfection. If you feel comfortable, you can also share a little story, a moment when you felt like a different person in Spanish. Reading each other's stories can remind you that you are not alone in this. I'll see you in the next episode. Nos vemos en el próximo episodio. Hasta pronto.